So a week after the March Pixel feature drop hit phones, it's now here for the Pixel Watch. Here's what's new and everything you need to know. This is actually quite a large or surprisingly large release for the Pixel Watch. It's not often though that we get to talk about updates for Wear OS watches in general, and this one is a doozy. If you haven't actually pulled this update on your watch already, well, I've got a little trick for you before we get started. So on your watch, head over to Settings, System Updates, and then you'll hit that Your Watch is Up to Date screen after that's loaded in. Now from here, just start wailing or tapping on that little watch logo, the one with the check mark or tick in it that you maybe think that you couldn't activate. Now it'll try and pull the latest update over after a few taps. You'll know it's working when you see a waiting for watch to charge screen. Then all you need to do is slap your phone on a charger and it should pull the OTA while it's topping up and getting you updated to the latest Pixel feature drop. So now with that out of the way, you're set for the update, but you're probably wondering what's new. One that might be useful or is technically new is a watch face. You can't set this as technically it's only available when the Pixel Watch is powered down. So when it is powered down or you have low battery and the watch has turned itself off, when you press the crown, you'll get a brief update on the time and a low battery indicator if your watch does need a charge. Sometimes this can be a bit finicky, but it is useful if your watch runs out of battery, which, let's face it, can happen within a day, given the Pixel Watch battery isn't necessarily the best out there. There's also a new option within the display settings that lets you wake or activate your display by rotating the Pixel Watch crown. Previously, this might open up the quick settings panel or the notification drawer if you scroll too vigorously, but you can enable this by heading to Settings, Gestures, Rotate and Rotate Crown to work. It works pretty smoothly when the always on display is activated and it just brings the watch face into focus right away. But if you do have this, it should be enabled by default anyway on most watches out there, but you can enable it if you have turned it off inadvertently if you didn't realize. You might not also notice right away, but Google says that they have tweaked the touchscreen response thanks to this update. I can't say for certain, but with the screen protector attached, my Pixel Watch certainly feels a little bit more responsive when interacting with it. Your mileage may vary and it will depend upon if you do have a screen protector attached or if you have been having touch screen response issues. Google also states that with this release, you can enable or disable the battery saver mode with a quick tap of the tile in the quick settings panel. But for some reason, I'm unable to get this to work for whatever reason. Maybe it does require something else to be updated, but tapping the battery icon just opens up that full battery settings menu where I can enable battery saver or disable. Let me know if you've managed to get this one working. Google's documentation isn't necessarily or in depth or exactly quite clear here how this will work. There's also in the settings a new mono audio toggle, and this should help limit the sometimes disorientating split screen audio that we've heard people complain about in the past. You'll find this new toggle within settings, sound and the mono audio toggle. This change when enabled will affect Bluetooth audio and some other applications such as the phone and maybe music players. When you're playing audio out of the Pixel Watch, the speakers can be a little bit more centrally aligned, if that makes sense. The sound is definitely not stereo as you would expect, so I would maybe be err on the side of caution before enabling this, as the audio experience isn't quite as rich when mono sound is active, but you can definitely notice this if you do listen via Bluetooth headphones or speakers. On top of that, within the accessibility section, there's a new Grayscale mode for the display, and this works in a similar manner to the digital well-being mode on your Pixel and changes all colors to gray tones or between black and gray effectively. It actually looks really slick when combined with the always on display and some watch faces out there, and could potentially have some battery benefits given that the Pixel Watch does use an AMOLED panel. It's not necessarily the most in-depth feature, but it is a nice one nonetheless, and I do think that maybe you might want to activate this if you haven't done so already. And while it's not technically related to the March Pixel feature drop, as we have mentioned this in a couple of update videos already, Google is touting fall detection now being available to all Pixel Watch users with the March Pixel feature drop. This emergency option uses sensors on your Pixel Watch itself so that your device is able to detect if you've taken a hard fall or a quite damaging fall and connect to emergency services, either if you have the LTE version and have an eSIM directly or using your phone to contact those. It manages this by using the inbuilt motion sensors and on-device machine learning to accurately detect hard falls versus what might be a stumble or even a vigorous workout at the gym. If you have an LTE capable Pixel Watch, as I mentioned, it is able to directly call the local emergency services with an active eSIM. Those with Bluetooth models will need a nearby connected smartphone for calls to be made. You might never use it, but I do think it's one of those nice to have functions that is now baked up into the Pixel Watch with the March feature drop update. Other notables include fixes for missed alarms that many complained about with the default Google Clock app. An update is still needed for some people out there, so Google's advice is to enable auto app updates by heading to the Play Store, then settings from within this app, and enabling automatic app install. So when an update is available, it should take care of itself and fix any alarm issues or delayed alarm issues that you might be having on your watch. I think that's a useful tip as well to enable that auto app update regardless, so I would definitely activate that option. On top of that, there was one thing to note about this update. It brings the very latest March 2023 security update. You may not have any glaring issues or security issues with the watch in general, but it's nice to have that one thrown in for good measure. And that is basically everything that we have here in the March feature drop for the Pixel Watch. It's not necessarily as in-depth as the same update for Pixel phones, which is now available for the 6 series on top of the Pixel Watch now, but there is a few nice little things I think here sprinkled in for good measure. I do want to know though, if you have installed this on your watch, have you seen any performance improvements? Or is there any of these features that you think are now going to be useful to you every day? Let me know down in the comment sections below. But until next time, this is Damien with 95 Google saying thanks for watching, and I will speak to you later.